In the past, I would have always considered the Call of Duty space to be a brilliant place to be as a content creator because of just the sheer amount of ideas that these games can produce for videos. The excitement, I guess it's just always been almost in a way dopamine-infused shit all the time. Stuff to keep you stimulated, stuff to keep the community on its feet, engaged with the game. But as of the past year, it's really just been going on a steady decline, and I hate to say it, even Call of Duty Vanguard, the game I just actually paid a revisit to recently, and you guys know how I feel about that game, even that game had a lot better content than what we get now.
And can I be clear, I'm strictly talking about the event content here, like what went on with the community in terms of content, not the actual seasonal updates and stuff, because as you might have seen from that video, I thought that shit was really boring.
And that is really, I don't feel good saying that, but it's actually true. And I think a lot of you guys are feeling the same way. It's probably why you clicked on this video. Yeah, I just think the content situation for Call of Duty is just really stale. There's not a lot of stuff that stands out for community-based content as it is. Like, people in the community, I feel like, are not as engaged anymore, and even the community themselves just look at this stuff and don't care about it. Then that kind of feeds this vicious cycle where content creators can't cover it either or make anything out of it because they don't care for it in the beginning. So when they see this content you're covering, they just think, well, I don't need to watch that because I already got my answer. So a good example of this is, in the past, I used to make loads of videos based on blueprints that would come into the game. I would make videos like, is this party stopper, whatever the fuck it was called, party stopper blueprint worth it in Black Ops Cold War? Or is this Halloween Growl blueprint inside of MW 2019, is it worth it? I would make these videos and people would watch them because obviously the appeal was already there. I myself was going for that blueprint. There was people in the community going for that blueprint because, again, they just looked cool. And there was always the gamble of, is the blueprint actually going to be worth it? Like, you could see what it looked like, but you didn't know what it looked like in game, what graphics it would look like, because there was Warzone graphics, then there was the actual main game's graphics, which were usually kind of different. Then there was the blueprints, like attachments to consider, all this sort of stuff, right? So there was always this gamble with event rewards, and people would want to know if they were worth using. And of course, the appeal was already there for the actual content. It wasn't just this thrown out cheap crap. It was always stuff that looked visually appealing and fitted the game's kind of ongoing event, or it would fit the game's overall aesthetic and storyline and whatnot. So there was always this sort of community appeal for that kind of content. And I think a lot of what it comes down to, especially with events, is events have kind of driven further away from individual specific progress to more community driven progress. And this is not actually a good thing. I know on pen and paper it might sound cool because it's like, oh, well, we're bringing the community together, so it's a collective effort, but really it has the opposite effect than to the one that they were desiring when they made it. A community event can be done correctly. It's been done before with like the Task 1-for-1 Showdown or whatever it was called that we had like a year or two ago, 3 years ago, and it was basically some event where you could pick a side to contribute your XP and progress towards. It was either you picked Task 1-for-1 or you picked, like, I think it was Koenig or whatever it was the bad side, and you could help whichever side it was, and whichever side won, you would win the camo from that side. So there was two potential camos that you could have won, and they both looked pretty cool, and you had to decide as a community, am I going to contribute to this side or this side? And that's what gave it this sort of community feeling to it. That was a good example of where they've done community driven stuff. Now, the kind of community driven rewards and events we've had as of the recent years haven't been like that at all. They've been very lazy, very boring kind of content, stuff that just doesn't appeal to its core fan base. Like, the people playing COD are just not going to care about it. Like the Squid Game community events and stuff, I'm pretty sure that was community driven if I'm not wrong. And we've had the recent one with the Nuketown party something event, which it's not terrible. Like, you can get some sort of mannequin arm melee as a reward, but it's just most of the actual rewards in there overall are just very stale, generic stickers and just emblems and stuff that people don't want want. It's not appealing. And I think the real trouble, aside from the actual content that they're putting in these events, are just so stale. I think on top of it, it's the fact that the community-based stuff, which is XP-based and it's collective-based, they're more likely to cause players to be lazy because players don't see the active gamble or the need for engagement with these events. They can see that there's already enough sad cases in this community that will play this game rinse repeat every day, and they're going to make the bulk of the contribution to these events, meaning they can just sit back and still get the rewards without fucking doing anything. And the rewards, again, are just like mid to shit. So there's not really this real desire or drive for people to open the game and be like, I need to get this before the time ends, because again, they don't need to get it, they don't really care about getting it, and they will just get it regardless because of all the sweats who are playing the game all the time. And beforehand, the events were limited time. It was more on you as a player to get it, otherwise you were literally missing out on rare event rewards that other people would have and you wouldn't have. And it did literally come down to your progress, you specifically doing those challenges in the set time that was given to you, and they were worth going for. So that alone has given me less content to cover as a content creator, because the events just don't have that real engagement factor to them anymore. They're not appealing to look at. And then we've also got the bundle situation. Now, I'm not usually someone who covers bundles quite heavily in Call of Duty. Frankly, I am anti-bundles. I do think that we should go back to a casual shooter game type thing, a bit like what Battlefield 6 is going to do, and keep the bundles to non-existent. And if you're going to add bundles or in-game purchases, at least keep them to the theme of the game, something that isn't ridiculous like Beavis and Butthead or whatever the fuck. I mean, this is a problem I actually need to bring up as well, which I forgot to mention. Another problem with the events is it's kind of got the black cell effect. Like the battle passes, where if there's anything remotely decent out of the shred of goofy crap that we're getting, it's always behind paywalls now. Like, a lot of events now just have black cell rewards, and the base rewards are just so fucking bad, so they're just expecting you to cough up further money, just like the battle pass and just like the store. Like the store bundles, any of the remotely decent looking stuff, which is either on the extreme goofy side or maybe isn't on the extreme goofy side, it's always really expensive. And then all the stuff that looks really stupid, but it's not as expensive, it's not stuff you'd want to actually cover for content. So you're more likely to find shit than you are to find treasure. That's what it feels like as a content creator. And I'm saying this as someone who doesn't really cover bundles that much, again, because of my anti-bundle stance. But there has been some pretty cool bundles I've covered over the years for content. Just stuff that stood out, stuff that wasn't too ridiculous, you know? And yeah, they might be ridiculous on pen and paper, like a Damascus skin, or that one skin we had for MW3, I think it was, that basically gave you further XP progress for the Vortex event. You know, that big red character. There are some stuff that is technically ridiculous, but it's nowhere near as ridiculous now, where we've got like massive fish head characters, we've got like squids with googly eyes, or we've got literal clowns just like running around. The skins are just dumb now. They're not even cool, they're just dumb. And I think there's a difference between stupid cool and stupid dumb. Like, it's just stupid. Like, why would I buy that? And why would I get something that's appealing to children as opposed to appealing to the COD fan base, but in a goofy kind of way? There is a difference, and I think you guys know what I mean by that. And that's really taken away a lot of content for me as a content creator as well. It's just, there's no reason for me to engage with the bundles in the game and make content on those either. The only last one I saw that I did consider was the Death Mosh blueprint, because you know how I made that video on the Metal Punk blueprint? Well, yeah, there was a Death Mosh one that's been in the game for a while. Obviously, it appeals to me because of the whole death metal theme, but it's still a bit over the top, and the price is a bit crazy. I don't really have the money to splash on that at the moment, so it's really not been a huge deal on my bucket list, and considering we're coming to the end of Black Ops 6, I just haven't covered it. But yeah, everything else in the game has been borderline atrocious, just not worth covering for content. The blueprints are just bloated, childish, colorful crap that anyone in their right mind is never going to search up and ask if it's worth buying. They're either going to think, yeah, I'm stupid enough to get that and buy it straight on the spot, or they're going to look at it like everyone else and think, what the fuck is that? So, not great for content. So the bundles are fucked, the events are fucked, and those are the two main community-related stuff that drives Call of Duty and kind of sets it aside from a lot of these other games where people do challenge-based videos and all that sort of stuff. And then we have the camo grind, and camo grinds are great for content for like the first half of the game, right? So there was the Dark Matter grind, which I managed to get done done literally within the first 3 months of the game being out. Then the second grind I had was zombies, which I did a few months back. But then once you've got past the camera grind, COD really suffers like this every single year, where the camera grind is the main bulk of the game, right? Once you've done that, everything else is basically not really as flashy or is not cutting it as much for videos. And I think that is also a separate topic altogether. The YouTube algorithm and what content people want to watch now for Call of Duty in general, or just video games. It always has to be topping the last video. It always has to have some caveat that keeps people hooked. Like, I did this, but... or I went to this game in 2024 and ... There's always going to be this clickbaity aspect to it. There's never really just top 30 gameplays or just basic stuff like that. Like, some channels can pull that off, but in the COD space, especially with how saturated it is, it's very, very cutthroat competition, and most people are not going to watch a random guy like me covering stuff like that. They're going to go to, like, Futives, or they're going to go to, like, These Knives Only, you know? They're going to go to those kind of channels where these guys have gained a reputation of being extremely good at COD. But this stuff is not in high demand in Call of Duty, and Call of Duty has always been quite different to like Battlefield and these other gaming spaces, because it's always been a lot more community driven, grind driven, challenge related. It's always been very flashy content, and we're missing that on a community level overall and on a content level. Like, the overall content we get now is so bad that I've gotten so bored of making the Reloaded updates, because people just over the years have just not cared about me making Reloaded update videos for any of the seasons, because they're just getting worse and worse. You get a season Reloaded update and you get like one gun, maybe one map. Half the time you don't even get that. You might get a little update for zombies and then just a few other little patch notes and other crap and some other little things sprinkled in there. It's really nothing crazy. Like, the Reloaded updates are very empty, which gives people this huge feeling of fatigue between each season, which can last like 2 months or so before you get the next one. So people are just kind of sat around doing whatever weapons they've got left to do in the game, and everything else is just not that good. And as for content creators, we're not really content with what we can cover for videos. At least people like me who make more of the catchier titles and don't do the gameplay stuff. It's very difficult for content. It's very scarce in terms of like content ideas. So yeah, Reloaded updates as well is a huge problem. Just they're becoming a lot more empty and less worth covering. The last Reloaded update I can think of off the top of my head that was worth covering was in, I think, Vanguard. Again, funnily enough, I think it was the Terminator event, when we got, not only for a Reloaded update, we got the Terminator crossover, but we got a whole event where you could go into Warzone and you could unlock like 3 different camos from the event, and they were, again, specifically player-driven progress and not community-driven progress. Stuff like that. The Terminator Reloaded update that we got a few years ago was phenomenal. I loved that, but we've not had something like that in ages. We've had these just really mediocre, empty, not interesting Reloaded updates that just basically shit out the rest of the remaining content that we were seeing on the roadmap. You know, just not stuff that's super engaging. So Reloaded updates, bundles, yeah, events, they're like all the main things. And I think another trouble that this game has come to is the exhaustion. And I've discussed this a little bit in some of my other videos, but it's the overall exhaustion that people have for Call of Duty now. It's kind of driven people away from even just the basic stuff like class setups. Nowadays, class setups are just not cutting it. People are not that interested. There has been some I've covered on this channel in the recent years that have done really, really well. Like Black Ops Cold War was a phenomenal year for class setups. If you guys used to watch my zombies class setups for Cold War, I'm sure a lot of you actually did, because that's where most of my subs have come from. That game was absolutely excelling for class setup culture. People loved that shit. Some of my class setups for Black Ops 6 this year have done pretty well, but generally speaking, most people do not care for class setups. It kind of comes off as lazy content, whilst at one point it was something people actually liked watching. People were so engaged to see what the best class setup would have been in Cold War or in Modern Warfare 2019, or hell, even Black Ops 4. I'm thinking way back, I used to make Black Ops 4 class setups on one of my older channels, and people loved that shit because there was actually this real investment into weapons and their balancing and how they performed in game, which was the best gun. Now a lot of the guns feel all just very similar, so it's like, oh, there's like 15 different meta guns you can pick from. They'll obviously rank higher or lower on the list, but most of the weapons are just, like, that come out are just meta, so there's not really this huge surprise around which guns are going to be the best ones. It's always the new ones before they get nerfed. Yeah, class setups, whilst I still cover them, I don't do them as often, as you might have noticed, compared to previous years, because, again, less of a demand for class setups. It just feels like, in general, everything in COD has become kind of lifeless, not worth covering, and therefore the videos become more and more spaced out. There's just less stuff to talk about. The community is less involved and less interested in what stuff is coming into the games. It's a really sad thing, and I hope Black Ops 7, all things considered, I hope it's able to revive this community element to the bundles, to the events, to just everything. I hope we can go back to those days where I can ask, is this blueprint worth it in a Call of Duty event? And is this Warzone camo worth going for? Just little stuff like that. It really makes the game a lot more exciting and fulfilling. I really hope we can go back to that. I'm trying to be optimistic because I've heard some pretty good stuff for Black Ops 7 in terms of dev responses, what they're dialing back, what they're changing in terms of response to the community, because it has been really extreme, as you guys will know, the response. And yeah, I mean, I'm all things considered, I don't care what anyone else says. I like futuristic Call of Duties. That's kind of why I enjoyed Black Ops 4 so much. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping Black Ops 7 does these things right and stops giving us the shit that we're not interested in, like Squid Game and Beavis and Butthead and Nicki Minaj, and they just start giving us stuff that we actually want, like Terminator. Like, that actually fits Call of Duty's themes really well. Commando, you could... Fucking hell, they've done Die Hard, now that I think about it, in Black Ops Cold War. That was really well received when they added John McClane in. Why don't you do that again? You've done so many rehashes of Snoop Dogg and the boys that it clearly doesn't matter if you redo collabs. So do a Die Hard collab for Black Ops 7. I'll be fine with that shit. Yeah, maybe it would have made more sense to come out in Black Ops 6, but hey, I don't give a shit. Just do a fucking Die Hard crossover. Do a Commando crossover. Do an Alien crossover. I don't fucking know. Alien maybe might get some more shit for it, but Alien is futuristic. Black Ops 7's futuristic. I don't know. Just do stuff that people might find to be shooter game related, or just stuff like that. Combat related, action related. But anyway, that's my long kind of tangent. I was talking about making this for a little while, so I got round to making it. There has been a noticeable decrease in how often I've posted it this year alone, just because of this shit. I hate it because it really feels like I'm scraping bottom of the barrel for content, and it feels like I'm drowning you guys of video ideas, and I want to be excited to keep recording the next day. But nowadays, it feels like a chore. I feel like a lot of content creators might feel like that is relatable in the COD space. It's just very much a chore to pick up a video and record, because it's like you're having to pretend that stuff is exciting when it isn't. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you guys did enjoy, or if you agree with me or whatever, be sure to, leave a like on the video, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts and feelings. Subscribe, of course, if you want to see more Call of Duty content or Battlefield 6 when that comes out. Also, I should announce that on the second channel, I might even make a short little video at some point coming up about this anyway, but I am going to be covering Halloween content for the second channel, so there might be a decrease even further in uploads to this main channel. I'll try not to. I'll try to be ahead of myself with the second channel scheduling stuff, so I'll have, time to cover stuff over here, especially when COD gets around to the Halloween time as well. There'll be Halloween COD videos to make, but that's just something to keep in mind. Second channel will have some crazy amount of content coming to it in October time, so yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye, guys.